Hi, I'm Scott Hansel, and this is another episode of Hansel Minutes. Today, I'm chatting with Madona Wambua. She's the founder and CTO of Jibu Labs, and now the Chief Technology Officer at Axlist. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Amazing.
So, one of the things that you and I were talking about before we started the show, as we always kind of have a little bit of a discussion in the green room, is how things are changing. And that's a thing that programmers who've been around a long time do. I've been around for a minute, you've been around for a minute, and we go, wow, kids these days, or the situation these days.
Yeah.
Is it getting harder in tech right now? Or are people tired?
Wow, that's such a great question. I feel like it is getting difficult right now, and people are tired. And I think to me, it's also the part where it's pretty exhausting right now to even find a job based on the layoffs that we're seeing. And it's also heartbreaking because nobody ever thought like big companies like Google and all the other big companies would actually be laying off so many people. And now the market is scrambling with so many engineers, but we don't know where to go. For instance, I think I was telling you too, early in the green room, somebody just sent me, as I came here, a request to just help them connect with somebody so that they can get a job because they've been in the job market for so long. So yeah, it's really tough times. I don't think I have the right word to say, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's everyone is saying that haven't we been hearing for the last 10 years that there's going to be a need for this many developers? They're always saying in the future we're going to need 1 million more developers. We need to send kids into school to learn engineering. I don't know what's going on. Is it a reset? Something's happening because I'm seeing a friend of mine said that their daughter was looking for an internship and was hundreds of applications and not getting any bites.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I'm wondering if it has to do with anything with the AI, but I don't want to rush.
I don't think I'm ready to say that yet.
Me too. But I think we started seeing this in early 2023 a lot and late 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really not sure what the shift was. I mean, I'm glad that never affected me, but I also created my own company. But many of my friends have been impacted. Like people I know have been impacted and people they know have been impacted. And I'm also involved in so many communities and I'm seeing this thing a lot. So I don't know what we did wrong, but there've been a lot of analysis that, hey, maybe we overhired and that's why we're scaling down. Because despite this happening, the companies are still making so much profit. Think about it.
That is the part that is difficult because even that word overhiring, I was kind of like a little bit, when you said that, I'm like, I don't like that word because doesn't that mean made a mistake? Like if someone overhires, they're being overly optimistic that we thought things were going to be great. But then those are humans, right? These are people with mortgages and lives that want to be in tech for a long time because this is the other thing that the question underneath my question is, how do you stay in tech for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years?
Yeah, that is such a great point. And I think to me, the also frustrating part is that people are ending up having to pick up other jobs, which is okay. But you can imagine having your passion being programming and then now you're out and you can't stay for more than 3 months or 4 months without a job. You have to take something else before you get another job because the market now is very competitive. However, I have a podcast and this lady told me something very interesting that Madonna, in situation like this, people need to know how to create their own comfort zone. And I thought it was interesting because she said, don't rely on a job so much, always have a plan B. But it's not as easy as she mentioned because so many people don't think about plan B. I spoke to another woman that said, Madonna, I want my 9 to 5 income every day. I cannot be a founder. It makes total sense because being a founder is not easy. But there are others who will take the risk and say, maybe this is the time I can implement my idea and see where this takes me. So it's tough out there.
Yeah, you had said at the beginning that you started your own company, but that takes work. In America, that takes healthcare issues. So like you have to have healthcare lined up. I've seen people start companies and maybe they have a partner that has health insurance. So like I would start a company tomorrow if I could just get healthcare, but I'm a diabetic, so I can't buy like healthcare in a really good quality healthcare on the open market. So I can use my wife's healthcare, but that's a very privileged position to be in. Having that plan B is difficult when the rent is due.
When the rent is due, that's so true. I mean, I think that the advantage that I got was that my husband still, works full time. And I leveraged the community a lot. So I started Jibu Labs as a consulting firm. So the idea was to reached out to the community, found out what they're doing, and see if I can get some offers to help with just consulting on mobile and also building websites. And that worked out. Scott, that worked out. The community really does come through because my first job at Jibu Labs was through a community member. She was like, hey, we have a very big community of women that's building, this community, and we need to rebrand our site and so many things. And we're like, we can give you a quote. And then we sent a quote over. We did the designs and everything. My team did that and they approved and they were like, we love this. And then we went and rebranded it. And now it's amazing. That job led to the next job and that led to the other. And we ended up in 1 year completing 5 projects, 2023. I even got to work with a very big company in New York, which does Web3 and cryptos. And I was like, wait, I didn't know I would get into this. This is amazing. So community does come through.
Yeah. So in that process of community, you're networking, you're talking to people, but at the same time, I'm hearing folks, and I'm seeing myself in my inbox, people emailing me and saying, hey, can I pick your brain?
Oh, yeah.
We should talk about this pick your brain thing because it's a generalized cry for help.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a series of actual questions, but I'm feeling helpless and I feel like you are a community person. Hey, Madona, can I talk to you? Can I pick your brain?
Yeah.
But you've got work to do. You've got to ship. How do you balance all of those outreaches?
Well, that's such a great, great question. I mean, I've seen a couple of controversial comments on this, especially on LinkedIn. And most of the time I laugh about them. Now, this is my thing. I don't know. I feel like I'm a giver in a way where I don't want it to come out in a bad way, but this is just me. I feel like I give a lot. And the only thing that I like to do is prioritize. I check on my calendar, I look at my calendar and ensure that I'm available these days. Can I offer this just for free? Because sometimes somebody cannot even find that money to pay. Why would I charge for that? So most of the time when someone reaches out to me, Scott, I always send them a calendar and then they book. And if I'm not available that day, I'll tell them, can we meet on this certain day? I might have some time. And I'm able to listen and then just offer the kind of information that I can offer. Because sometimes I think about it as myself. I struggle a lot in the beginning. I didn't have anybody to talk to. But when I found my community, women who could talk to me for free and share the experiences, that helped me stay in software. Software is not easy. It's very isolating, as I had mentioned before. So having someone to talk to might really motivate you. So that's why, to me, I'm always open. When somebody reaches out to me, I am available. Normally, if I'm not available, I'll just be honest with yourself. Are you not? If I'm not, I'll say, hey, I'm not available. Can we move this particular date? And if somebody's willing to wait, they wait. Yeah, that'll be my take on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the point is you have to take care of yourself. You have to protect yourself. So maybe like I have about an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours a week where I can meet with people in the community. But that can't accidentally turn into a day, 2 days. And then the next thing you know, I'm a full-time, can I pick your brain?
No.
Person.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You definitely have to prioritize. That's why I mentioned prioritizing in the beginning. I cannot have the calls be so many in one day. No, it has to be spread out. If somebody wants to talk to me, let's set up a time. And also sometimes something else that I always follow up with, maybe somebody can learn something from me, is I always tell, can you highlight the things you want me to look into? And most of the people actually do that without even me telling them. So I've seen a couple of notes in my calendar, like, Madonna, I want us to talk about A, B, C, D. So I feel like people are actually listening to the feedback that people offer out there. So it's cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really important call out because, I tend to be a little bit like low key irritated by the pick your brain because it's so open ended. But I am excited and I'm energized by 3 to 5 bullet points with well thought out questions.
Yes.
Right? That is, this is something that a substantive I can help with.
Yes.
I have a friend of mine, I'm actually doing a mentorship later this afternoon, who is feeling like stuck. They are self-taught. Mm-hmm. I see them grinding. I mean, I see them in the Discord. I see them on Twitter. I see them on social media asking good questions. Mm-hmm. That at the same time, like you're saying, there are senior engineers out there that are putting out hundreds of resumes and not getting callbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell my friend this afternoon.
That's true.
When he's discouraged. Mm-hmm. How do we build this resilience? But again, there's that economic pressure as well.
That is such a great point. And I love this topic so much. I think if you're able to offer something such as a connection, that is very important because sometimes that's the only thing we can offer. There's so much we can do, Scott. For instance, the person that reached out to me What I told her is, hey, write down the roles you want to apply to. And if you see somebody that I'm connected to, and this is a company you want to apply to, I will make the connection. Now, I said this because I've done this for other people. For instance, there's this amazing lady. She doesn't know me. I don't know her, but we might have met in one of the events because we connected. And she reached out to me and told me, hey, Madonna, I saw this job at Pinterest and I see you have a connection there. Do you know her personally? And I told her, yeah, she's a very good friend of mine. Do you want me to reach out to her and then she can refer you inside? She said, yeah. And immediately, what did I do? I created a chat between them two and said, hey, ABCD, meet this person. She wants to apply for this job. Can you refer them? And I saw them communicate and refer each other and the process happened. So I don't know if she got the job, but at least I did my part. So what I can say is that during these hard times, Scott, if you're able to do something as small as that to help the other person, that's good.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a very positive, like put good stuff out there in the world attitude. What caused you to write? You actually have a book right now called Modern Android 13 Development Cookbook. It's very highly rated on Amazon right now, 4.5 rating. So this is basically recipes, high quality recipes to solve development issues. Here's a trick question. Did you write this for the people or did you write this for yourself?
I actually wrote this for me for one reason and then for the people. But I started doing Android around, let's say 2013, 2014. And it's not way too old, but the way we used to build the system or build the applications, it's not the way we do them now. A lot has changed over the years. So to me, it was just appreciating that change that I just wanted to capture it down. I struggled a lot as a developer trying to understand Android. I was a Java developer building inventory systems. And when I started getting interested in mobile, I got interested in mobile because I had a phone that had a snake game. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do something, I want to do what this person did because the snake game was very popular.
Oh, yeah. The Nokia snake game was like, that was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to me, that was the inspiration to get to mobile. And I was like, when I tried to search, how can I do this? It said, you just need Java. And I was like, wait, I have that knowledge of Java. So I started doing it. Anyway, to go back, what I decided to do is I go there and I build this application and I decided, you know what? I will write about that journey, which is how complex it was back then and how disorganized it was. And now how it's easy for new people to pick up and actually build modern Android applications where people will love. Now, my UI was so terrible. My first apps, the ones that I built and released them, don't go looking for them, but they were very terrible. But right now, I feel like new developers that want to learn about building mobile applications, let's say Android, which is such a big ecosystem, it's easier now. We have this defined patterns and architectures. Back then, it was activities, not fragments, no dependency injection, just you trying to do anything. But I also did appreciate Google, what they've done over the years, just advancing it.
Yeah. So you started in Java, though, not writing mobile apps. I saw that you worked at UNICEF, you did work in Java. So you had the language experience.
Yes.
And then Android comes along and you're like, hang on a second, I can do TVs, I can do phones, I can write an app for my watch.
Yes.
I think your point also about how we're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, you really have a focus on the Jetpack libraries.
Yeah.
It's like this huge corpus of information that the young people, that the junior engineers can use.
Yes.
Which you didn't have. When you were doing Java, you were doing it like Java on the metal.
On the metal, yeah. And now we have Kotlin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great point. You call out Kotlin as well, because this book, at the end of it, you're ready to go and write a whole application in Kotlin. How did you find that Java to Kotlin translation in your mind?
Oh, wow. It wasn't easy. And this is why. I was used to Java. Let's say you've had experience in Java. I know you're like a good Java developer. You're scrolling and also what I'm going to call it. Is it flaunting? Like you're so good at it, you can type
you're flaunting your abilities. Yeah, you're a good mid-level Java person. You can do anything in Java.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, everybody that has to work in Android now has to use Kotlin. Can you imagine that transition?
Yeah.
In the beginning, I actually resisted because I was like, I don't want to do this. However, I remember in interviews, because I interviewed, they said, it's okay, you can interview in Java, but our code is in Kotlin. So that did demoralize me a little bit. But the one thing that I learned is that as engineers, we are signed up to something called lifelong learning. There's no way our ecosystem is going to remain the same all the time. We will always change and have to learn and adjust. So that mindset kicked me back and kicked me and Madonna, you have to learn this. So I had to take the time. And what really helped me is that I already had an app called Budgeting Buddy. So I decided to write that entire app again, just slowly during just my normal Saturdays and Sundays to Kotlin. And that really helped. So that started building the muscle memory for Kotlin. And before you know it, I was good at it. And now I love Kotlin. I even love it more than Java, even though I know Java really advanced and became better. And I'm like, oh no, poor Java. But what can we do?
You've left Java behind. So
Yes.
Interesting that you took your budgeting application. Did you rewrite it or did you port it? Because I think that's a really interesting question.
I rewrote it because I found that to be much easier. So the good thing is that I had the classes. You could easily convert that to they made Kotlin such that you can convert Java code to Kotlin easily.
Mm-hmm.
But the formatting was not good. So I decided not to do that. Instead, just look at the classes. I knew it's the same with Jetpack Compose. That's how I learned it. I was like, okay, I know what I need to get. I have the logic. I just need to go and start rewriting using these particular procedures that are new now. And that really worked for me because it creates that muscle memory because you're not breaking anything. You're building it as a feature on the side as you compare the code as you go and also learn.
Yeah.
There's different ways to learn new things. Yeah, that helped me a lot.
Yeah, that Kotlin switchover, though, I think is a kicker for a lot of people. I mean, they're both great languages. Kotlin just came out with such a better syntax. It was more concise. I remember doing Java. I was at Nike in 1997 writing Java. And, it was a chatty and there were a lot of words to say stuff. One of the great things that I do appreciate with the historical context that I have, having been doing this for a while, is things are more concise now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I love it for that now. I feel like right now, that's the thing I can flex on, even though I'm moving away from coding a lot now, but I still enjoy coding. But yeah.
Well, that's interesting. You did this book, but you're moving away from coding. You're a CTO now. How do you find that balance? Because I think sometimes the CTO is expected to be the best coder, but really they have business problems to solve, and they have to bridge business and tech. But I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose my, my coding ability.
That's a very good point. And I think for what I've done with that is just to ensure that I continue coding. I do continue coding on the side, which is not a lot as I would want it to be, but I'm okay with that because I'm not losing any. And I've realized that now something that I've actually learned as a CTO for my new company is that I'm actually using a lot. I'm learning Azure. I've seen C# code. Now, one thing that I have to say is that once you've done it so much and it becomes easier for you to grasp the concepts, understanding other languages and working with them, it's much easier. So I went there and I noticed the bug and I was able to look through the bug and recommended a fix just for fun. And they were like, yeah, oh, have you coded the C#? I said, no, but I can read the C#. So I think taking a lot of years doing it really does help a lot. That's why I would like to share this to developers out there and junior developers. Don't get frustrated. It gets better with time. Because sometimes I see people saying, how do you become a good coder? First of all, the things I see about becoming a good coder in 1 day or 60 days, that's false. It takes so many years to just get used to it, understand the logic, and then you become better. And then now you can read other languages and you can easily write other languages pretty easily too.
Here's a funny way to think about it. And this might be, so I want the earlier in career people to feel that sense of power of entering an unfamiliar space, an unfamiliar architecture, an unfamiliar language, and kind of going, yeah, I see how they must have done this. Yes. It's not that you know it, but you know that if you were there, this is how you would have done it. Therefore, they must have done that. And it's a very confident feeling. I want them to have that confidence, but they have to stick around for 5 years or 10 years. And that's the challenge. I don't want whoever's listening, I don't want you to quit.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Don't quit. Don't quit. Yeah, I would say that. Don't quit. It's never easy though, especially if you sign up for this field. The other thing, I know there's a lot of controversy with the AI replacing us, which is another topic. But what I can say about this is that there's a lot of challenges in this, but it gets fun. I think you have to enjoy problem solving because that is something I enjoy a lot. I remember this day, it's actually just recent. Our site went down and it was just a minor fix. And my entire team is in Europe. So I was the only one who was awake. So looking into it, like I've said, I've not worked a lot on web, but I've had experiences over the years. And I had to look into it, and I did my research. I was like, oh, I know this is a fix. And then since I didn't have access to fix that particular thing, I just sent to the senior engineer like, the summary of my findings. And he was like in the morning, oh, yeah, I think that was the problem. And then he fixed it immediately. I was like, okay, points.
Exactly. It's very comforting to have that feeling. Like it's a powerful feeling to be. And that's the other thing I want early in career people or beginnings people to feel like is that feeling you and I have where like I have power.
Yes.
I helped solve this problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Don't quit. I know the environment might not be friendly, but quitting is not, I mean, it's also fair to say if it's not working for you, it's okay. Because people are different. There are people that you want to stop them from quitting, which is okay. I feel like, yeah, that's okay. But if you're really passionate about it, stick around, find people that can walk with you through this journey. And yeah, you got this.
How do you find your people, though? Like, it sounds like in New York, you found like Women Who Code and different groups that you get together, you speak. I've seen you give talks on this stuff. But how do you find your tribe? Because I think that the word that hit me the most that you said earlier was how isolating tech can be, especially with the pandemic.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point because this is a mistake I did early in my career. I didn't think there was a need for me to get involved in the communities. And also have to mention, in the beginning, earlier on, I think around 2011, there weren't so many communities. I think communities just started coming out from the pandemic time. And now we have so many, which is amazing. So I would say the way I found my community was after spending so many years and just going through a couple of companies and also experiencing different cultures. Because as I mentioned with you before this, companies advertise themselves as, we have a great culture, But once you join the company, that's when you know the true culture that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a branding thing. Because you don't get to know the people you'll work with just through a one-day interview or a session and then you pass the interview and then you get employed. It's when you work with them that you know, oh, okay, this is how it goes. Because I think I've shared this before if somebody has listened to me, but I know most of your listeners have not had this. But one of the most shocking thing that I had in my review in one company, I won't mention it, was that I asked so many questions. And that really demotivated me because I was like, what am I supposed to do? I'm just new. And I was new to that company.
But they're saying this is a bad thing. This was a negative review. She asked too many questions.
Yes. It was a negative review. It almost put me to pip.
That just is messed up. I mean,
it is.
I can understand asking so many questions that you disrupt a meeting. But if you pull a senior engineer aside and you say, hey, I have some questions. Here's my list. Let's sit down. This is exactly the kind of employee that you want. You want someone who is curious and learning. And even more, you can use those questions to determine if the person is growing because the questions are going to get more interesting and more hard and more senior questions.
That's what I thought. Scott, that's what I thought. But I realized it's more of the culture of heads down and somebody just wanting to work on their work. Because maybe to them, they're expected to complete the work on time. And it brings up the question of the culture we have, especially here in America, where people just want to complete their work in the sprint and grab more tickets, which I find to be such a bad thing, at least in my culture, wherever, in my company and also where I am right now, I encourage that ability of, instead of completing and picking more, try to see if somebody is struggling, and see if you can help them. Instead of picking up, because if everybody's doing good and they're good, then okay, fine, pick up more work. But instead of picking up more work to prove a point, try to help the other engineers. But it's tough, right?
It's both isolating, but if you're an introvert and isolated and working from home, I can see someone going from like their bed 6 feet to their office and then back to their bed. And that can be awful. I get energy from talking to people about technical problems. I really try to encourage people who have the emotional spoons to go out into the world and talk to someone, try to get a pair programmer, join a Discord, get involved, find your community, find people who do appreciate you asking a lot of questions because it sounds like that company sucks.
Oh, yeah. The good thing is that, so this is the funny part. When I told them I was quitting, I was like, oh no, you're quitting? Why? They were shocked. I was like, are you kidding me? I actually stayed longer than I thought I would, but it was one of the worst experiences I've had. Other companies were okay. I didn't find such an isolating culture. But hey, again, like I mentioned, look, companies are different. What they say they will be is not what they are. But also the other thing I wanted to piggyback to is the community part. How I found mine was through that particular period of struggling and being told to ask so many questions. I stopped asking the questions. So what I did was, if I had a question now, I wouldn't ask inwards. I would just rephrase my question and just ask a community I was in. And then that's what led me to get involved more in the community, because then I would get people who were willing to help me by just telling me, hey, Madonna, actually, this is how you solve the problem, A, B, C, D. And then they send me a link. I mean, you could Google this stuff, but sometimes when you're new and also you're trying to understand how, let's say, a different framework works. For instance, here it was reactive programming, which I'd never done.
Yeah, it's a totally different mindset. It's hard to read the docs. Reactive programming, when that came out, everyone's brain inverted.
But yes.
Yeah.
So when I would get people just explaining to me and also booking a call to just explain it to me better, that really helped me a lot. And I was like, wait, hold on. The community really does come through. And that's when I started getting engaged with the community more and going out more and helping out more too. Because I realized somebody else might be suffering as I am, but being there to answer such questions might help. And then I started doing webinars too, like teaching others how to code. That helped me a lot too, like just get that knowledge in and share it out.
So now that you're a chief technology officer, are you going to use this way of thinking to inform how you interact with your engineers so that they might feel more welcome? Because you are going to advertise a positive culture and you are going to interview people. And hopefully the culture will match, though, when they show up and they're going to say, hey, our CTO is cool.
Yeah, I hope that's what they say now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, my entire team is in Europe, but I do appreciate just being able to talk to them about some issues and also them talking to me about it. They're able to book a calendar on my, and most of the time I come with an open-minded also approach. Like, hey, look, I don't know everything. I'm willing to listen. And I ask questions too, like, how would you approach that? Do you think that's the best? And then I just go and research and see if somebody used it. Let's say if a company used it, was that the best approach? What did they experience and how did they mitigate some risks and all that stuff? So being a learner and also encouraging that positive affirmation or positive reinforcement is very important for engineers. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been in tech for a number of years. This is your final form? Is your final career? Are you going to go and do this for your entire job? Because my wife just switched careers. She switched from being a finance person to being a nurse.
Oh.
So my kids are wondering if I'm going to quit tech and become like a teacher, right? And I was thinking that would be my like high school science teacher might be my final form.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's going to tie into my passions. So this is not the end of my career. Definitely, I will stay in tech a little bit for the startups that I'm working with, my startup and also this. But my future, definitely I see myself joining politics because I'm very passionate about policies. I see a lot of things not working. Look, I've spoken to a couple of people about this and I got feedback about, politics, you never see an impact. I was like, it's okay. Even if it's not implemented now, I know if I fight for it, years later, it will be implemented. So I'm okay seeing if my kids get to experience the benefits. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Well, maybe politics is your final location. That's awesome.
Yeah. No retirement. Do you get the joke?
No retirement. Exactly. Exactly. Cool.
I've secured my no retirement.
I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Yeah, too. It was an amazing conversation.
We have been chatting with Madona Wambua. She's a founder and a CTO and a technology expert. You can check out her book, Modern Android 13 Development Cookbook from last year. And you can check out her website as well. I'll put a link in the show notes. This has been another episode of Hansel Minutes, and we'll see you again next week.